Hello again for episode 4 of the football sort of weekly roundup. I'm going to say probably the 5th episode. I kind of counted the last episode as 3.5 because I had to sort of squeeze in shows per sort of because of the fixtures. So that's just sort of how it all falls. Ideally, it should just be the one a week unless, as I say, fixtures or major news hits, and then potentially releasing more as and when those things sort of happen. Like, for example, maybe the transfer window shutting, major sackings, sort of manager-wise throughout the season. Those sorts of things will encourage more videos. Potentially, us winning the Euros, maybe, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. So I'm just going to have a quick look over the semi-finals and then go into a little bit of a dive into the final, sort of how I think things are going to go, predictions-wise, team-wise, go from there. Cool. So on the more difficult side of the draw, as it were, we have the Spain-France game. Now, I'm happy to say that I believe I got my predictions right for both games from the previous episode, with Spain coming out on top 2-1 against the French. The French themselves haven't lit up the tournament and have almost sort of fell into the semi-finals, which sort of feels a bit strange, and sort of followed a similar path to England in the fact that they haven't necessarily impressed as much as they could and should have with the players they have at their disposal. So, for example, this was the first goal scored by a French player in open play. So that shows sort of the tack's not quite clicked this tournament. The defence has been according to XG, has been the second best throughout the championships after England's. So sacrificing that sort of attacking flow for a more defensive stability. Unfortunately, that's not really helped them in this situation against a very good sort of free-flowing Spanish sort of attacking unit who haven't conceded too many goals and are scoring, well, quite a few goals. They must be one of the top goal scorers within the tournament, I suppose, still potentially behind Germany after their 5-1 victory, but that was sort of a bit more of a blip, if anything else. So I've obviously mentioned Colin Mwani's goal from sort of the Mbappe cross, being one of the first scored by a French player in open play. And then we had sort of another record set with Lamine Yamal's goal from 25 yards out or so, making him the youngest goal scorer in the Euros at 16 years and 362 days. So it should be 17, my maths is right, for the final. And then after that, Dani Olmo sort of popping up with the goal, sort of some good work, sort of a good first touch to sort of bring the ball down, sort of ricochets in off of Jules Koundé. Originally that was put down as an own goal, but I believe the shot was going to be on target. It will look like probably inside of the post. So because of that, it would count for Dani Olmo goal. And I don't think we need any more goals added to the own goal top goal scorer, should we say, considering how many own goals there have been in this tournament so far. And I wouldn't ever rule one occurring in the final as well. So I might do a tally of that towards the end of the Euros. But I mean, the Spanish team going into this, I mean, they looked like you have no sort of stake in this game. You'd rather the team that's playing the better football to do well in the tournament or like ideally win it. And they're just far more attractive, more interesting to watch, having got the balance right in the team, as they seem to obviously struggle with that in the World Cup, as Spain themselves have a great dearth of central midfielders, and so they just sort of tried to put as many out onto the pitch as possible. Now this obviously, there's no team balance, as it were. Now they've obviously got it right. They've got Morata there sort of as the main leading man instead of having to sort of play a false nine, as it were. And natural, proper wingers who they've been allowed to just say, go, have fun, just do what you want. Get the space to sort of be free and move and just do whatever needs to be done. No major worries. Attack the fullbacks, which is what they've done. Sort of the advantage of sort of younger players, sort of having a fearless mentality towards things, just go at things, and obviously have been the stars for the Spanish team as well as one of their main threats. We'll look at that sort of a bit later on. So then we go into the England-Netherlands game. Now, the England team itself didn't change around as much as people potentially thought. Ideally, most people were hoping for Luke Shaw to start, having seen him get minutes in the previous game against Switzerland. However, he didn't start, potentially down to his fitness. Although he got minutes there, he hadn't played. He missed quite a few minutes in the league, and so come into the England team, sort of the other games, with not a lot of match fitness, as it were. So it was sort of deciding, from Southgate's point of view, whether you start him and you get the 60 minutes or so out of him, potentially sort of being tired, or you carry on and persevere with Trippier and bring Shaw on for those 30 odd minutes to have the impact and sort of attacking, sort of go-getting, as it were. You don't want to be you want to be making substitutions in order to get a positive reaction. It's not a positive change to have brought Shaw off and brought Trippier on. So in that respect, starting Trippier was probably the sensible decision in the long run, obviously. Now, obviously went behind again in the game. I think we've had to come back in the last two games, so let's just make it a third. With a very, very good finish. Xavi Simons sort of picking up the ball, and sort of some sloppy sort of possession, and absolutely walloping it. From the camera angles, it looked like Pickford got a hand on it, but you're not saving shots like those. You're just not. It's you don't expect the keeper to, as sort of a quality player with a quality finish, and you can't argue more than that. And then that's always how England seem to wake up in these games. Oh, bugger, we've conceded, let's go. And that sparked England into life, sort of starting to create chances, sort of Saka getting at people, Foden getting at people. And so from that, we ended up getting the penalty from Dumfries, high foot on Harry Kane after he's just taken a shot. So this obviously took a VAR call to eventually give the penalty, as it wasn't considered a penalty beforehand. This was a bit of a controversial one in some people's opinions. I don't believe the commentators believed originally it was, or their sort of refereeing assistant sort of on the sort of TV channel was sort of recommending it as a penalty. Obviously it did get overturned. I myself, at first glance, didn't think it was, but with reflection, having actually seen it, you could sort of say, well, we've seen those given. I can sort of see and understand why it's been given. I'd potentially be annoyed if I was a Dutch fan, understandably, but I'm an England fan, so I'm happy it was given and very well dispatched. So bottom corner, lots of power. Power, in my opinion, is always the best way to go without penalties. Just regardless of position, if you wallop it, the keeper's got no chance of getting to it. If there's sort of power behind it, he's got not enough time to react, to get down, to make the save. From that, England continued to dominate and had several chances, in particular through Phil Foden, who arguably has been one of his better games in the Euros, I'd say, because when I've been looking at the England teams, looking at potential changes, he's usually been the one that I've been looking at as someone that has been playing out on the left wing, drifting into space where Bellingham is, congesting that area, and sort of making it very sort of stodgy sort of play almost. You're all sort of packed into one area. It's easier to defend against. You want to sort of spread the play, as it were. Now, because of the tactical sort of formation of it being the almost sort of 3-5, well, not 3-5. How would you say it was? It's a 3-4-2-1, I believe, where you've sort of got Bellingham and Foden off of Kane. They're not naturally sort of the wingers. You've got the wingers to the side. You've got Saka. You've got Trippier occasionally sort of getting forward. Obviously nowhere near as much and not as anywhere near as well as Saka, who is a natural winger. Foden seemed to do well in the spaces he had available, forcing sort of some good saves from the keeper and having a chance which almost looked like it sort of got caught under his feet. He seemed to do very well to sort of get away with it. However, the ball sort of almost seemed to just stop on the line before the defender got there. He needed to get that with a bit more venom. Obviously, I don't know how much sort of in the way of balance he sort of had to get that shot off. Me not necessarily being the most technically gifted footballer in the world, I don't know if it's my fair decision to sort of say on something like that. However, the moment the half-time whistle blew, it sort of changed everything to the point where England started to regress in sort of not necessarily pressing the team and the opposition anywhere near as much as they had done, a sort of that fluid sort of play, getting forward and trying to do something, as it were. And so it was almost just a case of, well, we're going to have to wait for the substitutes because they will inevitably happen, and they have been making impacts in the previous games. The idea that we've been quite good at using the squad, not just the team, the squad, and I think that's has to be one of our strengths as a nation, is that we have a deep squad. We've got quality in sort of several positions. So thankfully, obviously, he made sort of said changes, bringing on people like Palmer and Watkins, who obviously ended up making the difference, which sort of was in absolute hysterics, obviously, when it happened. I think in the post-match interview, sort of Watkins sort of said to Palmer, like, this is what's going to happen. I promise it's going to happen. You're going to assist me. I'm going to score. And it was sort of a finish that I think most people had sort of seen from Watkins throughout most of the season. It's his bread and butter, almost, sort of being able to sort of get around sort of the defender, getting those shots in, hit it with sort of a good bit of power, sort of bottom corner. The keeper's got no chance whatsoever in getting to those sorts of shots, and obviously not enough time for the Dutch to change up to do anything more. So it was overall it was a very good game, and sort of thankful we didn't have to go into the extra time or penalties. We'd rather sort of want to save the legs for the final, because we have one less day of preparation than the Spanish, which might make a difference fitness level wise. We don't necessarily know, but better to be safe than sorry. Extra time could mean the extra chance of injury, losing other players. So no, happy with one. Slight hysterics. Obviously didn't celebrate too much considering it's a Wednesday night, but the final being on a Sunday and me being off on the Monday means that I might be a bit more open to a few drinks, potentially sort of this in celebration or commiseration. We'll see, but we're going to have a look into the final with us coming up against the Spanish. The Spanish have arguably been one of the best teams in the tournament, sort of play-wise. They've looked the most entertaining and do very much come into it as favourites, I believe. This is the Spanish have got to 5 finals before and won 4 of them. 4 of them. Sorry, 5 Euros finals and 1 4 Euros, or could be the 4th Euros actually. I'm gonna have to keep double checking my facts over this. There's the potential to be their 4th European title, having won it twice under the Del Bosque era and having won it previously a time before that. Now the manager himself has also had De La Fuente has had success with the under-19s and the under-23s, and this is a very well balanced team. They should have some of their players back from suspension that were suspended for the France game. Sort of the experienced heads of people like Dani Carvajal sort of coming back into the team, which could prove very useful, or a potential weakness. We'll have to see how the game plans out on that. So, from the English perspective, I'm not expecting changes into the 11. I think Gareth knows the lineup he wants. He knows the positions, the style, unless he's got some sort of tactical design on any particular of the Spanish threats. He's probably the wingers, in my opinion, being some of the biggest, or potentially Rodri and himself being able to dictate the play. It still does look like a tricky one. I don't see the changes. I don't think Shaw's going to be fit enough to start the game. However, potentially coming off the bench to make an impact of replacing Trippier, who I think is going to have his work cut out for him defensively, as I believe he's going to spend a lot more time defending than getting forward. As the Spanish teams, despite not having all these sort of ball, sort of possession sort of based players, sort of central midfielders, they do still dominate possession in most of their games. And with players like Rodri, like Fabian Ruiz, who's been absolutely amazing this tournament, these are technical players that like to keep the ball and potentially starve the other team of possession. So we've got to make use of possession when we have it, because I think it might be far and few between. And so I'd like to think that we've got the potential to hit them on the counter. However, you could argue the same backwards because of their pacey players on the wings like Nico Williams and Yamal running. We need our fullbacks and their A game. Kyle Walker himself, I'm worried about, as he's not necessarily looked his sharpest. But this is the game that we need him for, someone that's got naturally good recovery pace for sort of some of those wingers to sort of cancel, nullify one of those sides, as it were. Ideally, if we had the ball and the possession and starve them of it, but players like Rodri, you don't necessarily see that happening. I would like to think that you're sort of it's going to be the key battle will be between Declan Rice and Rodri over the ball. That if Rice can get the better of him or to take him out of the game, I think so much of the play going through him that this will give England the opportunity to win. Sort of a few quick facts regarding this game. The previous round against the Netherlands, this was the highest ranked team England have knocked out in a competition since Spain in Euro 96, as traditionally when we come up against the tougher opposition, we naturally sort of struggle or sort of go out on penalties or someone like that in sort of previous tournaments. And the one positive thing statistically as well is that England have met Spain 4 times in the Euros, and they've won all of those times, obviously when the last one's been in Euro 1996. So I'd like to hope that would continue, but that would be my heart rolling over my head. So if I was to say, my head says Spain 2-1, my heart says England 2-1. I want to back England, I really do, but they are the underdogs in this situation. There's no other way sort of around it. But yes, I'll have my fingers, my legs, all parts of me crossed, sort of hoping for the correct result, and hopefully it will be drinking and celebration, not commiserations, as I've sort of mentioned previously. But let me know your opinions on the game. Who do you think is going to win? Potential key players. Otherwise, I will see you later on. Bye.